call the December 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Twinsburg Board of Building and Zoning Code Appeals to order. May I have a roll call?
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Wilner.
Here.
Mr. Cancel.
Here.
Mr. Griffith.
Here.
Mr. Jameson.
I think he's absent. We'll all rise and state our Pledge of Allegiance to the greatest flag in the world. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two items on the list, and before we get into them, I'm going to do my usual tirade of asking City Council, the mayor, to consider simplifying the zoning code so that people don't have to spend $150 for what are actually minor variances. I think the building department and the building commissioner should have discretion on these kinds of items to act rather than having the people have to come through this in an evening meeting and go through the process. Now, on the first variance, before we get to the actual items here, we will be asking you to testify by the microphone under oath, and be sworn in, and state the reasons why you are seeking a variance. The first matter is the matter 062021. This is a variance seeking a 3-foot variance because the builder built instead of building the required 50-foot depth in the backyard, he managed to get away with it building at 47 feet. And now it's put up to the owners to request a 3-foot variance so they can extend a roof over the pad that they have on their property. So the applicants, if they will come forward, please. Identify yourself, name and address.
William Keene, 2617 Bronson's Way. I am the homeowner.
You raise your right hand. You swear that everything you say is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Tell me why, and tell the board why you are seeking the variance.
All right. Well, I made a couple of notes so I don't leave anything out. Thanks, guys, for hearing the appeal. I appreciate it. I'm here to request a variance to our 50-foot setback requirement due to some practical difficulties resulting from the way the builder oriented the house on the lot, which you already alluded to accommodate our side load garage. The house was set back further than all of the other houses that are along that side of the street. We are putting an addition on the house, which was approved by the Architecture Review Board. And one of the features of that addition off the back of the house is a nice little wraparound porch. And we have to cut it just a little short on the back side or the south side of the house, which is, facing the back of our lot, in order to make that 50-foot setback. So we're requesting a 3-foot variance just so we don't have this abnormally short covered porch that's part of the wraparound porch around the addition.
Understood. So it is a hardship and a practical difficulty to not be able to build what you want to build because of this 3-foot error made years and years ago.
Yeah, that's correct. It ends up looking a little stunted if we stay within that. And I will say I have talked to all of my neighbors about it. I've shown them the plan. I even talked to our sort of adjacent neighbor, which happens to be Ted Yates, but he's just like sort of catty corner from our backyard, but his property doesn't quite touch ours, but we talked to them anyway, just to make sure that all of the neighbors around us that would see this were aware of what we were doing. I asked them if they had any issues. I informed them that they should come here tonight. If they did, they all said they really had no issue at all, and they've been notified, as per the appeal process.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, I do. Do we have any correspondence from any of the neighbors or anything?
Not regarding this
Okay.
property.
All right, thank you.
We have a motion.
I make a motion, we approve appeal number 062021 as requested.
I'll second that.
Roll call to grant the variance.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Wilner,
Yes.
Mr. Griffith,
Yes.
Mr. Cancel.
Yes, the variance is granted unanimously.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
I regret that you had to go through all this just for the 3-foot variance.
Well, I couldn't agree more with your earlier comments, and nice touch on the pledge, guys. I mean, it's nice that you're doing that.
Thank
So,
you.
have a
Have a
nice
great
evening,
evening.
fellas.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is appeal 072021, and I believe the applicants are here. Is there anybody else here to speak for or against appeal 072021? Seeing no such person here, could I ask both of you to come forward? And if you could raise your right hands, you honestly support, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Who's going to speak first in requesting this variance?
I am.
Okay, can you identify yourself by name?
Yes, I'm Laura Rapp. I'm one of the homeowners. My husband and I own the property at 1671 Glenwood Drive.
Why are you seeking the variance?
We are seeking a variance. The first reason we're seeking a variance is for the privacy and safety and security of a pool that we are planning on installing in November. We have not yet applied for those permits because of the time in between construction. The second reason is for providing a degree of security for that pool. And the third thing I wanted to just mention as well is the front and the rear of the pool enclosure will not require a variance. The only variance we're requesting is for the side where we butt up against other homeowners. The two of the three homeowners have their own fencing as well, so we're just putting part of that on our property, but it's already fenced on their side. And then on the other side, it's covered by a very tall tree line.
So I think what you're saying is that you feel you're entitled to the same amount of privacy as your neighbors and other people who have some pools.
That's correct. The safety of the pool enclosure as well is important to us.
And I would assume that in addition to you and your husband, that relatives or kids, people like that are going to be using the swimming pool.
That's correct,
And
yes.
they too would be exposed to this requirement of the 1.5/8 inch air and site requirement of the code, which some of us on the board feel is kind of ridiculous, but it's until city council decides to repeal that and do something more practical or give the building department, the building commissioner better leeway on handling matters like this, it's going to stay on the books. Any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. This is commentary right now. You're citing 116401 alpha on the building code, and this is where I have the question. Where you're putting the fence around the pool, is that correct?
Correct.
That's
Not the yard.
Will not be around our entire property.
So therefore, the building code would be 116407. And under 116403, one of the exceptions to 116401 is fences serving as enclosures to the pool. My question is, does that 1 5/8 inch still apply if there's been an exception granted to 116401 because it's not around the yard?
I would have to say that if it is the exception to that specific code, then correct, it is an exception, which would allow that privacy type fence to enclose it.
Okay. that answers the question, and this again gets back to allowing the building commissioner the leeway to make these decisions regarding the code. Because they've spent a lot of money and time for something that we've it's kind of already dealt with. So, you the only thing in on 1164 is that you have to have at least 42 inches and no more than 48 inches around your pool. Is it in the ground pool?
It will be in the ground pool.
Okay, then that applies. You have to have that fence, and according to the building commissioner, you can use a solid fence under this regulation. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay.
despite all that.
Okay.
Apologize for the mistake there on our part.
I think,
Apologies for the mistake on the code section.
No, that's not you. No, that has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
We're making a significant point
Understood.
to council to allow the building commissioner the leeway. No,
bearing all that in mind, and particularly because this is a variance request, and I believe, unless there's some objection, I think practical difficulty has been shown. And so I'd entertain a motion to grant the variance as requested.
I'll make a motion to grant the variance Appeal 07-2021.
Do you have a second?
second.
Roll call?
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Wilner,
Yes.
Mr. Canceller,
Yes.
and Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Variance is granted. Good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
I do have one question, where do we get that permit then?
Building
Through the
department.
Through the
building.
building permit? Thank you very much.
But
Have a nice evening.
do the 30-day thing?
I certainly can.
Oh,
I
okay.
certainly can. I will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a meeting next Tuesday. That's fine.
I know I mentioned that because, you should have the latitude on something like that when that fence is not going around the yard.
Yeah.
It's just going around the pool. There's already an exception there.
Right, I understand all that.
I know you do, but I know because they had to request a variance, we had to go through the process.
Okay, so we are done with the two variance requests. Have we approved the minutes of the last meetings?
Did you sign?
I signed them. I'm asking for a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Zoning Appeals, March 24, 2021.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second that.
roll call?
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Wilner,
Yes.
Mr. Canceller,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Do we have any communications?
No, I do have one thing to bring up. We have two applicants that have been submitted for variances after the deadline, after we sent out the notices. There was discussion to see if there's a possibility to have a special meeting scheduled for October 13th, Wednesday. That would be 2 weeks prior to the regular meeting, but it started as one individual missed the deadline and somebody else came in for a variance. So there will be two on the agenda if you agree to that date.
Okay, you do take care of the publications
Yes.
necessary? Anybody have an objection?
I have no objection. I just got to check the calendar to make sure, I'm pretty sure I'm in town.
If we could
Go ahead.
defer that, and with the understanding that each of the Board of Zoning Appeals members will communicate with you if they have any objection to what you suggest.
Sure, we can confirm that at a later date.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Any communications? Motion to excuse our member who has not shown up tonight.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Wilner?
Yes.
Mr. Canceller?
Yes.
And Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second that one.
Roll call?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Wilbur?
Yes.
Mr. Kanzler?
Yes.
And Mr. Green?
Yes.
Brilliant.